Ron Green is the name. I was born in 33, and I could remember the war broke out in 39. And in those days, Jamaica, as a colony where I was born, the British was asked in the straight words, how can you help to win the war? And they said, go to it. The next item that was mentioned, I remembered, a banana a day helps to keep Hitler away. And so, at the age of 6, I could remember a cousin of mine, in relation to my dad, came to say goodbye because he was asked to join. His name was Sonny Woodhouse. And when he came to the house in his army number 2 home service dress, I thought, wow, I wish I was 10 years older. And then I could say I'm 17 and I would have to join. I was really amazed to see it, and I really wanted to go. And what it was called the BWI, the British West Indian Infantry, was formed under the British officers. And they went to war. And fight along the Allies until they got to Sicily and then onto Italy. And I could remember the boys when they came back and they were telling the stories. And there was one Jamaican chap who composed a song. There's, compadre, just listen a while to the song of the BWI. They went out to fight for freedom and right. History will tell you the places they went. They traveled all over the sea with their intention to reach Germany. Oh my, I don't want to die. I want to go home. And then he went on to say, I want to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to be in these places no more, where shots and bullets are bursting at me. So take me over the sea, where the enemy can't get at me. Oh my, I don't want to die. I want to go home. And the main reason for this, when they got to Italy, division and prejudice, they felt left out. And they rebelled, so they didn't want to go. So they were told by the British they'd have to act or there will be repercussions. But they decided they didn't want to. And so the British got an African, a Dutch colonel into their enclosure, who set up a machine gun and said to them, you will, or we'll shoot you down. So they backed down, but they didn't go on to Germany or France and then to Germany. They were put on board and sent back to Jamaica. A lot of those guys, some stayed, but some returned to the West Indies, where they settled down, especially in Jamaica. They were given areas of land where some of them built homes and did their little cultivations and so on. And so, war having ended in 45, the next item for Jamaica was they started for independence. And I can remember some of the song that they use as national anthem towards independence. One I can remember as a kid during at that time was there's a lovely island in the Caribbean Sea, an island full of coconuts and fine banana trees, an island where the sugar cane is waving in the breeze. Jamaica is its name. We're out to build a new Jamaica. We're out to build a new Jamaica. We're out to build a new Jamaica. God help us so to do. That sort of a thing. Then by the time I became a teenager, coming up to 49, I was, say, a young teenager. I remember Britain having designed and built the first jet aircraft, and it was in Gloucester, which was called the Gloucester Meteor, and it came out to Jamaica for all-weather flight condition checks. And this aircraft was flying, and the hot gases against the air leaving all the white clouds along, and people were mystified and all that. And I could remember when Friday morning I was going to the fields with my dad, and people were mystified as we walk along. They stop along the road and wondering what it was. And I just turned to my dad and I said, "You know, Dad, you don't want to listen to these people. It's an aeroplane. But it's not using propellers. It's a different engine. I don't know what it is, but I aim to find out." At that time, just about that time, my older brother, Jim, the eldest in the family of 15, he had just left to come to England to work. And so, having taken my finals, I didn't pass the exams, but I didn't feel I really wanted to, because there was no jobs at the end of it anyway. So, a few years after, by the time I was about 19, coming up 19, King George VI, the Queen's mother, had passed away and she'd just taken over. So at 19, a number of students of us went in a coach to Kingston for the first visit to the Queen. And I saw this little lady, Queen, in charge of 3/5 of the Earth's crust, walk along the plank from the Royal Yacht Britannia, and Prince Philip a step behind her, and I thought, oh, wow, little lady with so much power. And then the aircraft, I must go and see what it's all about. And so, by the time I was 21, I decided I'm on my way. I'm going to follow my brother. Having reached here in 54 as a young man, very soon after I got called up for national service, At that time, I was working at a trading estate in Hucklecote, Gloucester, where they were actually building the Gloucester Javelin. Now, the Gloucester Javelin was powered by two Sapphire engines, which were axial flow gas turbine engines. The Meteor was a central fuel type of flow with canisters around, and then driven by a gas turbine. And so I thought, wow, this is my chance. So instead of doing my national service, I agreed to join the Royal Air Force as a regular. And I ended up having trained in Bridgnorth in '56. I then became an aero engine mechanic, and I went straight to Malta by January of '57. So I had decided to stay in the Royal Air Force for 10 years. But by the time I got to Queen's Flight in Benson in Oxford, it so happened that they couldn't find married quarters for me and my family, a young family. I got married in '56, the same time I got called up. And having gone to Malta, in January of '57, my young wife and little daughter followed me out in May. And over the next 3 years, two of my boys were born in Malta, Maltese. Yeah. So returning back to England in '60, I joined the Central Flying School in Rissington as an air engine fitter. And then my fourth child, another lad, was born in Rissington in North Gloucester. And immediately after, he was just about 3 months old, we went to, I was posted to Cyprus, where I served with the 43 Squadron, hunters, fighters, and also 13 Squadron cameras. And then after 3 years, we returned from Cyprus back to England in '63, where I joined RAF Benson in Oxford. So it's then that, as I said, they couldn't find me married quarters, and it said to me, well, I could either send the children to boarding school, or they'd all have to go to a transit in Wheaton, which was very far away. I know. I said I didn't want that. And I just turned around and said, I'd rather leave. And they were really mad at me. And I remember they said to me, well, if you leave, it will cost you £130. I didn't have £130, so I drove to Gloucester, where my brother was staying. And I rang him up firstly, and I said, I want you to lend me £100 and tell you what I was going to do. So I went down the Monday, returning the Tuesday, I went to the office and I presented the £130, and they said, well, be off the station by Friday. Thank you very much. And I was gone. Fortunately for me, I found work in Gloucester. I remember I was a fitter with a firm that were building I think it was a new nuclear plant in South Gloucester. But I wasn't happy there. And I found the job I was looking for in '67 with Doughty's, the MOT, where they were doing aircraft parts and all that. And so I worked for Doughty's for 24 years until my retirement in '91. Yeah. And so it was a very eventful life. Yeah. And just from my interest in seeing my first jet aircraft, and decided I was going to, and I ended up in the very job that I wanted. It's so odd. And it seemed like destiny that when I first came to Gloucester, and I live in the center of town, and I always traveled by bicycle to the trading estate, and you took the short route from Gloucester along Eastern Avenue and followed the bus route into Wackercoat. And being on a bicycle, you always try to take a short route through the lanes and get over to Wackercoat. And I remember I used to come along the bus lane and the main route, the Coney Hill Road, and turn into Hales Road, where down straight across instead of all the way round. And then even in the afternoons coming back, it's a bit uphill, but it was a bit shorter. So cycling on back in '55, I rode along. I'm going to tell you how I came to meet my wife, a young English girl. One afternoon, you finish early on a Friday, so you finish early, and I'm riding along. And I could remember, as I ride along, there's two young girls by their gate, with towels around their hair. I suppose they wash their hair ready for the afternoon. And as I was whistling along, the little lady said, "Hello, darky." And I thought, it's quaint, cheeky little girl. So I just rode on and never even thought about it anymore. And I think it was in July, the Gloucester Fair was on. Normally I was always by myself walking along. I could see some kids as I was passing through. About 4, I'm returning home. And the little lady said, "Hello." And I thought, I've heard that sound before, like hello. And never thought about it. Walking home from the park up to the centre of town, Barn Street, because the next street over nearby couldn't remember the name where I live. And just as I got along Barn Street, that's when the little girl came up again and said, quickly passed, shouting, "Hello," and walked on. And I thought, "Hello," and thought no more of it. A bit further on, another little young girl, it might have been a sister, same person, come by, "Excuse me, the lady that's just said hello to you wondered if she could meet you." "Really? Well, tell the young lady that I'll be at the park, same place, tomorrow." And lo, she was there. And that's how I met my wife, Christine. Yeah. we courted for about 15 months. She'd come along to my place, see me, hello, help me tidy up, and she was gone. And at the end of that 15 months, she came in the afternoon and she nervously sat down and said, I'm sorry to have to tell you that I will not be able to see you again. Really? Why not? She said, my mother's found out that I'm courting a black chap, and it's never happened in the family before. So, I said, after all, true. She's right. After all, there's a lot of prejudice about, so I wish you well anyway. So she sat there in the chair, and I put my arms around her and said, never mind, I'll show you. And I could feel her literally trembling. And the heat her body was generating. So I hugged her tight and said, never mind, and kissed her on the cheek. That was it. Nothing could be done about it. Our love was sealed and signed. Long story short, we got married then, and then joined the service. And after over 60 years of marriage, she just passed away. Next month will be 2 years. A genetic illness, osteoporosis. Yeah. I will remember